Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. In this video, I'm going to share with you a perspective that I've shared one or two times on the channel, that's it. And I've never seen posited by anybody else in the XRP community or the crypto space, and perhaps it's time that we get a bigger conversation going around this, because here's the fact. The approach that SEC Supreme Leader and dictator Kim Jong-Gary is taking in regards to securities law is absolutely insidious. Gary is unilaterally removing one of the four prongs of the Howie Test, the one requiring that a common enterprise be present. And this is of crucial importance, as I'll articulate as I go through this latest Moon Lambo hot jam, because it is the case that in order for something to satisfy the Howie Test, which is to say something is a security, if something satisfies the Howie Test, it's a security. You have to check off all four boxes. You have to fulfill all four prongs of the Howie Test. Gary's removing one of them and happy to litigate based on the other three. He's publicly stated this dating back to August. And so I want to share with you his latest comments because it's in line with what he said in August, which again, I brought up just once or twice back then. Time to spread the message a little further. And so here's the headline from the Daily Hodl. Gary Gensler says SEC working with crypto exchanges to adjust rule sets and promote investor protection. And we already know that the SEC has been tremendously overstepping. From considering what it's congressionally allowed to actually oversee, it's tremendously overstepping. It's egregious. They're ruling by enforcement. Obviously, the SEC versus Ripple case is absolutely atrocious. They also, Gary Gensler is actually claiming that stable coins are securities or may be securities, which doesn't make any damn sense because without the expectation of profit, which is one of the four prongs of the Howie Test, which he believes still exists, it can't be. And then he's getting into decentralized finance. Think about it. A checking account, let's just say a savings account. Let's say you have a savings account at a bank. He's okay with that. You're earning interest on your savings account. That is not a security. But if a crypto company offers interest on a crypto asset, earning interest on that is a securities offering. It doesn't make logical sense. So look, I want to be clear at the outset, I don't have a legal or financial background of any kind. I'm not offering legal or financial advice. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. So let's dive into this piece from the Daily Hodl, and then I'm going to flesh out the concept here and share with you just how atrocious all of this is. U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission Chair Gary Gensler says that the agency is coordinating with digital asset exchanges in order to protect the interest of the public. In a new interview with Bloomberg, Gensler says that part of the SEC's agenda is to communicate with crypto exchanges in order to establish regulatory certainty on the many available digital assets. And here's a quote. The agency is really just looking out for investors. Excuse me. I think it just started to make me cough, and then I thought I might vomit a little bit reading that comment from Gary Gensler. I'm sorry, you're looking out for investors, Gary? Really grinds my gears, folks. I have to start that one over. I'll try and not upchuck here. I'll keep the upchucking down. Which means, is it a downchuck then, or is it just a non-chuck? I think it's a non-chuck at that point. You guys let me know in the comment section below. Here's the quote, though. The agency is really just looking out for investors in many of these tokens, not trying to prejudge anyone, but many of these tokens have the attributes of securities. Pause. Think about this. He's talking about the tokens themselves having attributes of securities, not the way in which they're offered. He's not talking about the prongs there even. He seems to still believe that a cryptocurrency, just by the nature of it existing, can be or not be a security, as if it's some sort of static thing. No, that's stupid. STOOPID, stupid. His quote continues. They're raising money from the public, and the public is anticipating profits based upon the efforts of others, so we've brought a number of actions. We're trying to work with the various crypto platforms, the exchanges, the lending platforms to come in, get registered, find where we can adjust our rule set to get the investor protection for the public. Now, just pause to note there, he cited three prongs of the Howie Test right there, but not common enterprise. He does not talk about common enterprise anymore. He says, and it's actually more egregious in that it's not just the lack of mentioning it. I'll highlight the actual quote. He says there's only three prongs now. It's not just that he's not mentioning one of them. He's literally said, and I'm going to prove it to you, that there are only three prongs of the Howie Test. Rewriting history here. Gensler says that crypto platforms are all likely providing access to unregistered securities and in need of regulatory updates. According to the chairman, firms in the industry should take the initiative to establish communication with the SEC to ensure regulatory compliance. And here's the final quote from Kim Jong-Gary. If you're a platform and you have 75 or 100 or sometimes 5,000 tokens on that platform, probabilities are that a number of them, and maybe many of them, are what's called a security. It comes down to this. Are you raising money from the public and the public's anticipating profits based on the efforts of others? My predecessor, Jay Clayton, the agency that I'm honored to chair at this point in time, is going to try to pursue investor protection, and if that means bringing greater enforcement actions, we'll do that, but it would be better to have these platforms come in and work with us and come under the securities laws. And so again, right there's another quote. He's highlighting 3 of the 4 prongs of the Howie Test. And he says, come on in, work with us, we'll get you all set up. And as Brad Garlinghouse, Ripple CEO, has previously highlighted, if you come in and talk to them, the SEC actually uses that as lead generation for legal enforcement actions against those that come in to speak with them, as is the evidence in the case with Coinbase, obviously, here. And so again, the 4 prongs of the Howie Test. Number 1, investment of money. 2, with the expectation of profit. 3, on the efforts of others. 4, with a common enterprise. So that and you can put in whatever order you want. It doesn't matter. The common enterprise one, the one that I labeled forth there, that no longer exists here. So check this out. In August of last year, at the Aspen Security Forum, Gary Gensler literally said there are 3, not 4 prongs of the Howie Test. Now, in fact, I'll highlight this here. This is the video clip where he does this. I'll try and remember to provide the link below. So you guys can check it out yourself. If I forget, I'll do my best to remember it. But if I do forget, just type in the video title and it'll come right up. But if you fast forward to the 42-minute, 36-second mark, you'll hear him say right after that, and I quote, "The Howie Test at its core, 3-part test," end quote. 3-part test, not a 4-part test anymore. It's a 3-part test. And then he names the 3 parts, which is the first 3 that I named. 1, the investment of money. 2, with the expectation of profit. 3, with the the profit to be accrued based on the efforts of others. That's the 3rd prong, right? And so again, it was at the Aspen Security Forum where he stated this. Now, one of the prongs of the Howie Test is that you are expecting the efforts of others to increase the market price of whatever you've invested in, as I just stated. If there is no common enterprise, you may still be looking to the efforts of others to increase the price of your investment. Imagine, hypothetically, that there are 100 developers building on top of the XRP ledger, and they are all roughly equivalent in terms of development activity. Forget Ripple. Pretend Ripple doesn't even exist. If a common enterprise is no longer required to exist in order to constitute the sale of unregistered securities, then literally no development on top of any blockchain would be legal if there's any sort of sale of a token associated with it, period. You can't even participate in that aspect of the ecosystem if you're building. So even if development in this hypothetical situation is evenly taking place across 100 developers and no single developer has special control or permissions over the blockchain, it's still a security if people invested money, are expecting profit, and expecting that profit to occur as a result of the 100 developers. And even if the investment occurred on secondary markets, even if, it doesn't matter as far as Gary Gensler is concerned. So why doesn't Gary care whether or not there is a common enterprise when acting upon securities law? Or more importantly, how the hell is it that he thinks he can get away with unilaterally removing one of the 4 prongs of the Howie Test that dates back to 1946? I don't know about you, but when I buy a cryptocurrency, I'm counting on an entire ecosystem thriving, which requires the participation of humans building things for that ecosystem. If Gary's idea is that humans can't build things on a decentralized blockchain and sell an asset native to the blockchain in question without infringing on securities laws, what he's really saying is that cryptocurrencies can't legally be sold in the United States. Especially when you consider the fact that, there needs to be a distribution method for cryptocurrency to get out into the wild in the first place. Even if you think mining is the solution, or you think it might be the solution, well, if the ecosystem is small and centralized in particular, when you're just starting out, it would still be a security according to the SEC, and very easy for them to target on top of that because it's so small. So there is no path forward. Supreme Leader of the SEC, Kim Jong-Gary, has absolutely no respect for the rule of law. He just doesn't give a damn. And I'll tell you what, it really burns my biscuits, folks. It burns my biscuits right on up in this bitch. I'm not a fan of that. At least I didn't upchuck. That's a good sign. What do you think, folks? I just... It's so obvious what he's doing here. And again, I would love for this conversation to expand, because he's unilaterally removing one of the 4 requirements. And think about it as it pertains to Ripple. If common enterprise no longer matters, well, then if you take that away, then XRP is a security under that. But that's not how the law works, of course. But yeah, it would be. Take away the common enterprise thing. Ripple is building on top of the blockchain. They don't have any special permissions, but they've sold an asset associated with the blockchain on which they're building on top. That means XRP is a security. Do you see what Gary Gensler is doing here? You can't do this. He has no right to do this. Absolutely not. Oh man, what a perfectly ruined batch of biscuits because of this. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.